Honorable government officials, distinguished guests, industry professionals, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the Earth Forum 2025, held on this very special occasion of the Earth Day. My name is Sonia, and it's my great pleasure to be your MC today. It is truly an honor to be part of this incredible gathering of visionaries and leaders who are committed to building a sustainable future together. Thank you all for being here and making this forum a success. Today, we are very honored to have our esteemed government official with us, Mr. Joseph Chan, JP, Acting Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. And this forum is jointly hosted by the Friends of the Earth Hong Kong, the Financial Services Development Council, and the China Sustainable Investment Forum, with the valuable co-host support of the European Federation of Financial Analyst Societies and Certified ESG Analysts, CESGA. We would also like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our event sponsor, Vistra, for their generous support, and to our venue sponsor, Deloitte, for providing this beautiful place for today's forum. The theme of this year's Earth Forum is Green Capital Global Connect, Shaping Hong Kong as a Sustainable Finance Hub. Today, we will explore how Hong Kong is positioning itself as a premium hub for green finance and sustainable investment. Through engaging panels, inspiring speeches, and discussion, we aim to foster collaboration and innovation to drive the sustainable development not just locally, but also globally. Without further ado, to introduce the program, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Plato Yip, Chairperson of the Friends of the Earth Hong Kong, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Please welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Happy Earth Day. Secretary Joseph Chan, Dr. Bing Leng, Dr. Jesus Lopez Zaballos, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, and dear friends. On behalf of Friends of the Earth, it's my honor and privilege to welcome all of you to this year's Earth Forum. Today, under the theme Green Capital, Global Connect, Shaping Hong Kong as a Sustainable Finance Hub, we gather here not only as professionals, but as committed allies in the shared mission of advancing sustainable finance. At Friends of the Earth, we firmly believe that meaningful change begins with collaboration and a shared purpose. Amid growing geopolitical complexities and economic challenges, sustainable finance offers a new engine for growth, driving initiatives like the energy transition and fostering long-term stability and prosperity. This forum indeed comes at a pivotal moment. With the government's launch of the Roadmap on Sustainability Disclosure in December 2024, Hong Kong has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to adopting the International Sustainability Standards Board, or ISSB Standards, no later than the year of 2028. Now, this milestone positions Hong Kong to lead the way in fostering transparency, building capacity, and driving meaningful financial flows toward global sustainability goals. I'd like to highlight that today's Earth Forum is more than just a platform for discussion. It is a meeting of minds, a call to action, and a catalyst for meaningful change. And as I look around this room and reflect on the many participants joining us virtually, I'm truly inspired by the collective expertise, passion, and dedication each of you brings to the green cause. You embody the very best of Hong Kong and global sustainable finance community have to offer. Visionaries, innovators, advocates, and practitioners who are driving progress and setting new benchmarks. Our remarkable lineup of speakers and panelists stands as a testament to the unwavering commitment and professionalism within this community. Together, we'll explore how Hong Kong, with its world-class financial infrastructure, deep pool of talent, and abundant capital, can take a leading role in sustainable finance. Today, we'll hear from thought leaders, policymakers, and industry experts who have worked tirelessly to advance this agenda. Our two panel discussions today will focus on critical areas of action. The first panel will examine the importance of ISSB standards for global sustainability reporting, exploring how these standards can drive consistency, transparency, and investor confidence in sustainable finance. The second panel will address the role of capacity building in advancing the sustainable finance market, emphasizing how ecosystem development can prepare businesses and professionals for the evolving green finance landscape. And to our friends and partners, including the Financial Services Development Council, China Sustainable Investment Forum, EFFAS, Vistra, Deloitte, and all the esteemed speakers and moderators, I extend my heartfelt thanks for your invaluable contributions to this year's Earth Forum. Your partnership and support make this event possible and impactful. By directing investment into green industries and sustainable finance infrastructure, we can foster innovation, create high-value jobs, and strengthen economic resilience. This strategy represents a powerful new engine for growth, with Hong Kong uniquely positioned to take the lead and drive transformative breakthroughs across the region. Thank you for dedicating your time and expertise to this vital cause. And I encourage each of you to actively participate in today's discussions, exchange ideas, and draw inspiration from the diverse knowledge and perspectives gathered here. Together, let us use this forum to reaffirm our shared commitment to shaping a greener, more resilient future, one that sparks action, drives changes, and lights the way for the world to follow. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive, inspiring, and fulfilling Earth Forum 2025.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yu, for inspiring words and positive note. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker to deliver the officiating remarks. This speaker has extensive experience and insight in the financial and sustainability sectors. Please welcome Dr. King Au, Executive Director of Financial Services Development Council. Please welcome.
Acting Secretary for FSTB, Mr. Joseph Chan. Plato, Dr. Lang, Dr. Gao, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome again to Earth Forum 2025. I'm delighted to speak to you today as we unite to shape a greener future. First of all, I would like to begin by expressing our heartfelt gratitude to Joseph for joining us today as our distinguished guest of honor. 4 years ago, FSDC and Friends of the Earth joined forces to create this forum, which has since become a cornerstone of sustainable development in Hong Kong. Over the years, this collaboration has deepened and expanded, culminating in yet another significant milestone last year when we co-hosted a side event at the China Pavilion during COP29 in Baku. This platform provided us with a remarkable opportunity to highlight Hong Kong's leadership and accomplishments in green and sustainable finance on a global scale. It is with great pleasure that we reconvene again in Hong Kong to mark the 4th anniversary of this enriching collaboration as we stand at the intersection of finance, sustainability, and innovation. The theme of this year's forum, Green Capital, Global Connect, could not be more timely. The global green transition is no longer a distant aspiration. It is an urgent imperative. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency's estimation, a cumulative global energy system investment of $47 trillion US dollar, that is required by 2030 to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius trajectory. This figure calls for immediate and sustained efforts to mobilize global financial resources. Zooming in on Asia, the IMF has estimated emerging and developing economies will need at least $1 trillion annually for climate mitigation and adaptation investment. Yet, actual investment falls short by 70%. That is 70, highlighting a significant regional challenge. While the global challenge is immense, Hong Kong is stepping up as a vital player in sustainable and transition finance, driven by a robust and collaborative ecosystem. This ecosystem brings together the public and private sectors, creating a dynamic framework that advances green finance initiative and positions Hong Kong as a premier destination for sustainable investment and innovation. Echoing the theme of today's forum, Hong Kong is a true exemplification of channeling green capital and connecting global stakeholders. Let me explain why. First and foremost, the government has laid the foundation for this success through initiatives like internationally aligned taxonomies and world-class fundraising platforms. These efforts enhance Hong Kong's leadership in sustainable finance. Coupled with this, Hong Kong's role as an international financial center fosters collaborations between the mainland and overseas markets, including the Middle East and ASEAN. Moreover, Hong Kong is emerging as a green tech hub, driving sustainable finance with innovative technology. This ecosystem attracts global investment, solidifying its leadership in blending green tech with financial expertise for impactful change. The private sector has also demonstrated unwavering commitment. As a leading asset and wealth management hub, Hong Kong attracts diverse capital from local, mainland, and international investors. This includes family offices and high net worth individuals who are increasingly prioritizing impact investing and sustainable opportunities. With the two sectors joining forces, it brings us to public-private partnerships, PPPs, which are crucial for accelerating sustainable finance development. PPPs enable resource pooling, risk sharing, and alignment of public policy goals, with public sector innovation facilitating larger scale projects and ensuring long-term viability. Building on these strengths, the FSDC has recently published 3 consecutive research papers ranging from carbon trading, transition finance, and impact investing to advance Hong Kong as a green and sustainable finance hub. We also advocated the use of long-term insurance capital to enrich sustainable investment under the risk-based capital regime in our latest paper published last month. This goes to show how important FSDC attaches to climate change and green transition. Ladies and gentlemen, Hong Kong has always been a city of opportunity, innovation, and resilience. As we navigate the challenges and opportunities of the green transition, we must leverage these strengths to build a sustainable future by fostering transparency, aligning with global standards, and investing in capacity building. We can strengthen investor confidence, ensure our global appeal, and solidify our role as a leading hub for sustainable finance. In closing, I would like to thank all the speakers, panelists, and participants for joining us today. Your expertise, insights, and commitment are invaluable as we work together to shape a greener, more sustainable future. Thank you, and I wish you all a very productive and inspiring forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. L, for insightful remarks. Next, it's my great pleasure to invite our guest of honor today to deliver his address. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Joseph Chen, JP, Acting Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Please put your hand together and welcome.
Plato, King, Dr. Lang, Dr. Gore, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my great honor and pleasure to join you today at the Earth Forum 2025, a gathering of visionaries committed to shaping a sustainable future. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the Friends of the Earth, FSDC, and China SIF for organizing this pivotal event, and to all of you for your unwavering dedication to advancing green finance. As Asia's leading international financial center, Hong Kong has also become Asia's premier hub for green and sustainable finance. To align with the target of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050, Hong Kong has made significant commitments of its own. These targets are not merely aspirational. They are driving systematic reforms across various sectors, including energy, transportation, and finance. In 2024, the total green and sustainable debts issued in Hong Kong exceeded $84 billion, among which the volume of green and sustainable bonds arranged in Hong Kong amounted to around $43 billion, ranking first in the Asian market for 7 consecutive years since 2018, and capturing around 45% of the regional total. This accomplishment solidifies our position as the region's premier platform for scaling climate-positive investment, and also underscores our dedication to fostering a robust green finance ecosystem. Hong Kong's status as a strategic nexus for green finance in Asia is central to advancing global sustainability objectives. As of end of December last year, there are more than 220 ESG funds in Hong Kong authorized by our regulator, with asset under management AUM of around 1.2 trillion Hong Kong dollars. This represents a remarkable increase of 136% in the number of funds and a 15% rise in assets AUM from just 3 years ago. These elements will solidify Hong Kong's role as the gateway to sustainable finance in Asia. As an international financial center, Hong Kong is uniquely positioned to mobilize the necessary capital for climate solutions whilst ensuring robust integrity within our financial markets. Hong Kong's multi-pronged approach encompasses policy frameworks, market infrastructure, innovation ecosystems, and cross-border collaboration. Our government's Sustainable Bonds Program stands as a testament to this transformation. Having raised 220 billion Hong Kong dollars since 2019, including the groundbreaking tokenized bonds tranche, we are not just funding green projects, but creating new benchmarks for the market in different currencies and across different tenors. The recent expansion of the program to include sustainable projects reflects our commitment to financing a broader range of climate solutions. As we navigate the complexities of climate change and strive for a sustainable future, transparency and robust governance remain fundamental to our approach. In December last year, we launched a roadmap on sustainability disclosure in Hong Kong. The roadmap sets out Hong Kong's approach to require publicly accountable entities, PAEs, to adopt the ISSB Standards. Assuming the role of the Sustainability Reporting Standards Setter in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants, HKICPA, published also in December last year, following a public consultation, the Hong Kong Sustainability Disclosure Standards, the Hong Kong Standards, fully aligned with the ISSB Standards, with an effective date of the 1st of August this year. All these ensure our regulatory framework remains aligned with international best practices while addressing the specific needs of the evolving markets. Our regulatory framework is fundamental to creating a robust and dynamic sustainable finance ecosystem. By establishing clear guidelines and standards, we can ensure that all stakeholders are aligned in their efforts towards sustainability. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority published the Hong Kong Taxonomy for Sustainable Finance in May last year, aligns with the 2 mainstream taxonomies of the mainland and the European Union, EU, and currently encompasses 12 economic activities under 4 sectors, namely power generation, transportation, construction, and water and waste management. It served as a pivotal tool to raise awareness about green finance, promote common understanding on green activities, facilitate green finance flows, and provide a foundation for further applications. In its Phase 2 development, the taxonomy will introduce transition activities and add new green activities to make it more usable and support the transition of the region. We recognize that developing green finance talents is also vital for sustaining our leadership position in this arena. Our pilot green and sustainable finance capacity building support scheme has successfully approved over 6,400 applications with total amount of reimbursement of about 35.8 million Hong Kong dollars. As mentioned in the 2025-26 budget, we will extend the scheme to 2028 to continuously support local green finance talent training. Our progress reflects the government's commitment to not only human capital development, but also technological innovation. The Green and Sustainable FinTech Proof of Concept Funding Support Scheme, launched by the government in June last year, aims to nurture an advanced green fintech ecosystem by providing support for innovative projects. The scheme facilitates the commercialization of the solutions and the completion of the proof of concept stage, enabling wide adoption of green and sustainable fintech solutions with potential in the business landscape in Hong Kong. A total of 39 applicants involving 60 projects were approved, with grant of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars for each project. These initiatives are building the expertise required to sustain Hong Kong's leadership in sustainable finance. Ladies and gentlemen, the transition to a sustainable future is both our greatest challenge and our most exciting opportunity. Hong Kong stands ready to play its parts as a financial hub, as an innovator, and most importantly, as your partner in this vital work. Looking ahead, we will leverage Hong Kong's unique position as an international financial center to connect capital with climate solutions. This strategic role positions Hong Kong to make significant contributions to global climate action through financial innovation. I look forward to today's constructive dialogue and to our continued collaboration in translating these strategic initiatives into tangible outcomes that advance Hong Kong sustainable finance leadership. Let us work together to build a sustainable future. Thank you.
Now we would like to capture this memorable moment together with 3 big group photos. For the first photo, may I invite the following guests to come on stage and join Mr. Chen. May I please invite representative from the Friends of the Earth Hong Kong, Mr. Plato Yip and Professor Anthony Zhang. Next, Dr. King L from Financial Services Development Council. And also Dr. Pei Yuan Guo from China's Sustainable Investment Forum. Welcome everyone. Now everyone, let's stand closer together and look at our official camera at the front. One more group photo. Please look at the other camera. Thank you very much. May all our guests please move a step forward to the ground floor, please. We're about to expand our group photo for the second group photo. Let's begin with our co-host representative from the European Federation of Financial Analyst Societies, EFFAS. We have Dr. Jesus Lopez Ceballos, Dr. Valeria Follner, Dr. Rene Nicolodi, and Dr. Alexander Pui. Please put your hand together for our guests. And next, we'll have a sponsor, Ms. Joyce Lau from Vistra, and venue sponsor, Ms. Melissa Fong from Deloitte. Our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Bing Ling from International Sustainability Standards Board, IFRS Foundation. And finally, our wonderful panelists from today's program, we have Mr. Edward L., the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Ms. Valerie Huan, Asia Investor Group on Climate Change, Ms. Catherine Ng, Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited, Mr. Hui Chi Pei, Shenzhen Stock Exchange, Ms. Jialing Si, International Sustainability Standard Board, IFRS Foundation. Ms. Luke Liang, Insurance Authority. Ms. Yiling Ng, Securities and Futures Commission. Mr. Ronald Yang, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and Mr. Sam Yu from Hong Kong Investment Funds Association. Welcome, everyone. For our panelists, please stand on the second stage. Let's stand closer together for this group photo. Put on your big smile. Let's take a few more. Thank you very much. Now we're going to take our third group photo together. Please remain on stage. And now may I invite the board governors from Friends of the Earth Hong Kong to join the final group photo. Please welcome Ms. Ophelia Lin, Vice Chairperson, Board Governor Ms. Serena Mack, Mr. Chi-Ki Wong, Mr. Johnny Wai, and the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Jeffrey Hong. And we're very honored to invite some special guests by our co-host EFFAS to join us for this group photo. Please welcome Mr. Oliver Hoffman, SD Group Bank AG, Mr. Michael Walsh, Pacific Basin Economy Council, Mr. Anders Lukom, WTW, Dr. Roman Novashilov, New Development Bank, Mr. Calvin Lim, Hong Kong Securities and Investment Institute, Dr. Eva Chan, Hong Kong Investor Relations Association, Mr. Brian Lam, United Overseas Bank Limited, Ms. Xiao Fei Huo, Sir Ali Kadori and Sons Limited, Mr. Kwan Yu-o, Hang Seng Investment, Mr. Jasper Chan, the Hong Kong and China Gas Company Limited, Mr. Seth Pella, Marsh McLennan, and Mr. Sherman Zhong, S&P Global Ratings. Please put your hand together and welcome our guests on stage for this group photo. For our guests on the third row, let's stand closer together and put on a big smile for the Earth Day and for our Earth Forum 2025. Let's take a few more to commemorate this moment. Thank you very much for joining us on stage for these beautiful group photos. Please be seated. What a wonderful way to commemorate our Earth Forum 2025. And before we move on, we would like to capture one more special group photo with all our on-site participants. Right now, we will invite our photographer to come on stage and take this giant group photo for all our on-site participants. While our photographer is setting up his camera on stage, everyone please get ready and give him a thumbs up later when he's ready. And don't forget to put on your big smile. Look at the stage, look at the camera, and put a thumbs up together. Happy Earth Day! Thank you very much. And one more group photo. Thumbs up, big smile. Let's look forward to a brighter and greener future together. Thank you, everyone. And we're now ready to begin the heart of today's forum. To set the stage, our keynote speaker will share his valuable insights on the global implication of sustainability standards, a very essential foundation for the conversation ahead. Today, he will share his expertise in a keynote titled ISSB Standards and Hong Kong SAR, Insight from a Standard Setter. Please put your hand together and welcome Dr. Bing Ling, board member of the International Sustainability Standard Board at the IFRS Foundation.
Hi, I'm honored to participate in this Hong Kong Earth Forum and deliver the keynote speech. I'd like to thank friends of Earth Hong Kong and the other hosts and sponsors today, particularly China Safe and Deloitte for this nice place for us to discuss. And Hong Kong SAR is widely recognized as a leading international financial center, and is the only market in this world that connects large pools of capital from both mainland China and overseas. Hong Kong is also a leading sustainable finance and green finance hub in Asia. The international carbon market, launched by the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, is the only carbon market in this world that offers settlement in both Hong Kong dollars and the renminbi yuan for trading international voluntary carbon credits. The International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB, is dedicated to develop a set of high-quality global baseline, truly global baseline for sustainability-related financial disclosure standards, and promoting the globally consistent implementation of our standards. Over the past 3 years, the ISSB has issued the IFRS 1 General Requirements for Sustainability-Related Financial Disclosures and IFRS 2 Climate-Related Disclosures, supplemented by industry-specific metrics provided by ISSB Standards. These standards cover the general requirements for corporate sustainability disclosures that investors need. The ongoing development of and the release of the thematic standards like IFRS S1 on climate and other topics will make this standard system more comprehensive and robust. Today, I'd like to discuss the relationship between Hong Kong SAR as a green finance and the sustainable finance hub in Asia, the establishment of a local sustainability disclosure ecosystem, and the ISSB and its standards. Firstly, the ISSB and Hong Kong are close partners within the same ecosystem. The sustainability disclosure standards aim to bridge the information gap between companies and their current and potential investors, debtors, and other creditors, allowing companies to provide high-quality information about sustainability-related risks and opportunities known as SRO, and their management performance of SRO in a regulated environment. With the joint participation of green finance, sustainable finance regulators, monetary applications, practitioners, and market participants, a robust ecosystem for funding sustainable development is being established. That's where we are. Hong Kong's adoption of ISSB standards is a concrete example of this bridge being realized. The ISSB was established to create this scenario. Secondly, Hong Kong is an active adopter and supporter of IFRS Foundation standards. As many of you noted, over the past 2 decades, actively adopting international standards has benefited Hong Kong's financial market. As early as 2002, Hong Kong announced the adoption of international IFRS accounting standards starting in 2005, becoming one of the first countries, first jurisdictions to adopt these standards. These move significant visibility into Hong Kong's and the benefits into Hong Kong's financial market, and greatly supported the global adoption of IFRS accounting standards. Last but not the least, the ISSB is a strong supporter to Hong Kong's efforts to establish a sustainable disclosure ecosystem. The ISSB places great importance on the adoption of its standards by jurisdictions, including Hong Kong and other countries and jurisdictions worldwide. In 2023, we established an external advisory group called Transition Implementation Group, known as TAGE, to gather inputs from global preparers and practitioners Among the 17 members of TAKE, one is from a Hong Kong company. Another one is a Hong Kong resident. That's just the case, just an example to show how important Hong Kong is in our governance and standard setting activities. And also, ISSB actively participates in the process of Hong Kong's standard setting body developing its sustainable disclosure standards, known as Hong Kong Standards. In this process, Hong Kong's experience and the strengths and particularly in digitalization and fintech are being considered in the ISSB's development and the enhancement of global baseline. Ladies and gentlemen, in October 2024, the chief executive of Hong Kong SAR released the policy address. In paragraph 46, as mentioned by Joseph just now, the FSTB will launch a roadmap for the full adoption of ISSB standards by finalizing and publishing Hong Kong standards. And in December, very soon, in December 2024, the FSTB and the SFC Hong Kong released a roadmap, issued a roadmap, the roadmap mentioned by lots of our speakers in this afternoon. We are seeing actually with the very strong efforts in the interim period jointly by SFC and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, a stronger signal has been released via this roadmap. That is, Hong Kong capital markets, they are using the ISSB, they are adopting ISSB standards in January 1st, 2028 and January 1st, 2029 for all the listed companies in the main board. Border movers are reaping great rewards. We are looking forward to work together with Hong Kong as well as other jurisdictions to improve the implementation of this global baseline. You may note actually recently we issued a document called Roadmap Development Tools, RDT, known as RDT, to show our efforts and what we are offering to help jurisdictions to enhance their adoption and make their decision about adopting ISSB standards or other using of ISSB standards. In this document, you may know you may figure out actually we are working together with implementation partners. That's to say IOSCO and maybe MDBs. And we are also working together with implementation advisory partners. That's to say the third-party consulting providers, services providers, and consultation providers. We are developing a set of training program as a co-contents to be provided to these implementation advisory partners, to help them to deliver high-quality training to local preparers and regulators. We are also carrying out lots of other projects. For example, we are working on the 2 research projects. We are very close to the end of phase 1 of our 2 research projects. That's they are Bs, biodiversity, ecosystem services, known as Bs, and the human capital. We are very close to the end of phase 1, and we are stepping into phase 2, and we are looking forward to a more formal to some more formal outcomes. For example, discussion paper or other due process paper in accordance with our constitution and the due process handbook. We are working with more jurisdictions. We are working with more implementation partners, and we are providing more and more educational materials. For example, in early this year, if you check the website of IFRS Foundation, you may find we have a 60-page paper, educational material. It's about materiality, aiming at to help preparers to make sure how to identify their relevant. Sorry, I'm using this word, this term personally. It's not official notion in our standards. In our exploratory draft, we used to call that significant SRO and call that relevant SRO. It means it could be reasonably expected to impact the prospects of the reporting entity. And this is step one, to identify the SRO. And then that's how to identify your material information related to the SRO has been identified. This is called double materiality or financial materiality, but actually we'd like to call that investor-related materiality rather than single or double. So we'd like to work with preparers in Hong Kong. We'd like to work with regulators in Hong Kong. We'd like to work with standard setters and government agencies and other market participants to work with you all to create a better future, to support the vision of the great vision of Hong Kong, to establish the great sustainable finance hub in Asia and in this world. Thank you so much.
Next, we'll move on to our first panel discussion, the importance of ISSB Standards for global sustainability reporting. This session will delve deeper into how these standards shape transparency and accountability in sustainable finance. Now, let me introduce our moderator for this panel, Dr. King Au, Executive Director of the Financial Services Development Council. Please welcome. And joining him on stage, we have our distinguished panelists, Mr. Edward Au, President of the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Ms. Valerie Kwan, Director of Stewardship and Corporate Engagement at the Asia Investor Group on Climate Change, Ms. Catherine Ng, Head of Listing at Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited, Mr. Hui Chi Pei, Deputy Director, International Cooperation Department, Shenzhen Stock Exchange, and Ms. Jia Ling Si, Regulatory Affairs Manager, Asia at the International Sustainability Standard Board, IFRS Foundation. Welcome, everyone. The stage is over to you now, Dr. Au.
Thank you. Today we have very distinguished panel. So we have policy setters, we have standard setters, industry experts. So let's quickly dive into the discussion, and then I'll ask all of you to briefly introduce yourself when you answer, my first question. But let me start with Valerie first. AIGCC has members from 11 markets, right, managing over $28 trillion globally. Right? So from an investor perspective, how do you see the evolving climate disclosure standard influenced your members, investors, in the decision-making process in Asia over the years?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot, Dr. Au. And it's a pleasure to be here today. And especially thrilled today to be speaking at the Earth Forum, because we are able to derive a lot of our thinking from a climate transition report that we've also quite recently published. So I have fresh data that I can draw on, hopefully will be of interest to everyone. And my work within AIGCC mainly is to lead one of the 3 pillars of work on stewardship and corporate engagement. And back to your question on, therefore, as we engage with investors on the evolving climate standards, what does that mean? We certainly see a lot of continued evolution in standards. We see that increasingly there is more and more sophistication in the disclosure standards. And certainly what we therefore see amongst investors is that within the region, who's ready to show leadership, who's ready to better integrate these standards and climate considerations into their investment processes. And so the research that we've been doing, it's based off of a desktop research of 230 investors who across Asia. So there is a heavily sort of Asia-focused research, and also furthermore being informed by sort of qualitative data sets from other investors 52 investors in particular, who responded directly to our climate investment survey. And from within, without too much surprise, to be honest, we do see that, yes, there are evolving disclosure standards, but it has also materially started to impact investors' decision-making processes. What I mean by that is that investors, 75% of the investors that we've been serving from within Asia have already started to recognize climate change as a material risk. And so furthermore, they're acknowledging this as a financially material risk. So incorporating this financial element, I think it's something that definitely shows the level of importance that investors are looking into this for. And furthermore into sort of the question around, okay, are investment policies considering climate considerations as well? 68% of the investors that we've started to look into have publicly referenced some form of their investment policies and how that's integrated with climate considerations. That's what sort of started to be embedded into their thinking. So a very sort of initial response to this question, but certainly really looking forward to sort of the better integration around the ISSB standards, because it is definitely a way to offer a structured approach for investors. As we expect more to come in terms of regulations and expectations on transparency around these issues, we do see this as a good set of standards to give investors some guidance. So I'll perhaps pause here for others' comments as well.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. I think that you're echoing what has been said earlier in some of our keynote speeches. We're trying to channel capital into transition finance. And so regulators play a very important role. On that, I want to turn to Pei Zhou. Mainland China mandated sustainability reporting for large companies last April last year. So definitely it's a key driver for sustainability. So what are the latest development in mainland China, and especially in the role of Shenzhen Stock Exchange? How are you advancing climate reporting?
Okay, thank you, King. And it's my pleasure to be here. And the Chinese government has put the sustainable development very high on the agenda. And that's the same case for China's capital market. So that's why you just mentioned the last April, we had the guidelines on sustainable reporting for Shenzhen listed companies. So this is mandatory plus voluntary basis. So the constituents of Shenzhen component index and Chinex index constituents are required to comply with the reporting rules, and other companies are encouraged to comply with the rule. And we combine the international best practices such as IFRS standards with China's national conditions. So setting the rule is very important. And besides that, we think what is more important is to building the ecosystem. So that's why in Shenzhen market, we have set the green and low carbon industry, a pillar industry for our listed company community. So there are more than 400 listed companies in low carbon sector, accounting for 20% of our market cap. And there are lots of very famous names such as BYD, CATL. So this is gradually enhance the awareness of the whole market along with the listed companies and the investors to have the concept of sustainability. And also we are issuing lots of ETFs in sustainable theme. There are over 20 billion AUM, and we have 70 indices in these sectors. And also we are having the training programs for them. So we see these efforts are having some good outcomes. So last year, there are more than 1,000 Shenzhen listed companies published their standalone ESG or sustainable disclosure reports, accounting for 35% of all our listed companies. So we are seeing progress being made, and also we are having more training program for them to enhance the overall awareness.
Well, that's very encouraging. I think now it's time to ask Catherine, so what Hong Kong has been doing on this reporting standard. And I know last April, Hong Kong EX also published a consultation on that. And then this year you have started to implement some of the recommendations as well. So please share that with us.
Thank you. So in Hong Kong, as the home to 2,600 listed companies of varying sizes and from different industry, including low carbon industries or some in traditional industries, I think Hong Kong has taken a very practical approach to this, which is in line with IFRS's recommendation. So for Hong Kong, we want to be progressive. We want to be the financial center, international financial center, but we're also very conscious of our market landscape. So we are taking what I call progressive approach, which means that the larger companies, the ones with which have a bit more resources, the ones where their investors are more interested in climate disclosure, we've asked them to start the journey first. We're mandating these, and the other companies go on a comply or explain basis. Now, I think this is quite a practical approach because, after all, you don't want the companies to just write the report for compliance purposes, right? You want it to have meaning, you want the investors, to the reader, to give feedback, and it's a continuous dialogue. You know, we talk about ESG, climate reporting, the whole ecosystem needs to grow together. It's not just the regulator putting a stick against the issuers and asking them to write something. It needs to be very relevant to the investor. So for that reason, we thought a progressive phase approach is probably more appropriate. And you know, we had no doubt that ISSB is the standard to work with and to set the baseline for Hong Kong, because it's very clear that that is the baseline of which investors are looking for. And global investors, which we have a lot in Hong Kong, are looking for consistent and comparable information. So it's useless if it's fragmented, it's useless kind of to the investors, to the reader, if the companies of the same industry, they can't compare against each other. So it's very clear to us that ISSB is the way to go. And I think when we went out with the consultation that King talked about, there was very broad market support. It was clear that we had the mandate to go ahead, and a lot of the companies, I mean, it's evident. I mean, it's encouraging to hear that Shenzhen Stock Exchange has a similar experience. A lot of the companies, especially the larger one with more global investors, they've adopted it. They've started disclosing even before the stock exchange mandates them to do so. I mean, this is the behavior, I guess, that we're looking for. This is the behavior that shows that, you know, there is demand, and issuers are not just doing it for the sake of compliance. And I think for the companies, it's also a sort of relief, you know. There are different standards, they're not quite sure which one to go. We have a lot of multinational, we have a lot of companies that operate across many jurisdictions in Hong Kong. And it's important for them to have one standard that works across all the jurisdiction, and ISSB has definitely provided for that. And the challenge will lie with the challenge has always lied with navigating different jurisdictions' need, reporting frameworks. I think, like what was said before, what Bing said before, when back in 2002, there was a similar experience when many accountants amongst us knows that before IFRS was adopted in Hong Kong, there were a couple of different standards, and it made the market a bit harder to read, information harder to interpret. But today, there's no question about it, right? Everyone is reporting against IFRS. I think it'll be a similar journey with ISSB, the standard. It will be a step-by-step approach. Everyone in the industry, whether it's issuer, market practitioners, or investors, will get comfortable with it. And eventually, it will become second nature. So I think that's the journey that we're heading towards, and we're looking forward to that day.
Thanks, Catherine, for highlighting the importance of having a universal standard. On that note, I want to turn to Jialin. Probably, I've got two parts of the question. You know, talking about standard, right? We know the ESRS, the GRI, and of course ISSB, and we are all, you know, advocating to adopt ISSB. But so, what key factors make ISSB a truly international framework, and how does it help address different market sustainability goals?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's very encouraging to hear that a lot of support from for ISSB from Hong Kong market. I wanted to say that when the reason of the ISSB to be established was called for the global investors and the global regulators to have comparable information across the whole global capital markets. So we had we're still having a really stringent due process, and when we develop our standards, we consult on the global participants and relevant stakeholders globally, and our standard is designed based on those sponsors. So that is one thing to flag. So to see that, we can see the global momentum of adoption or other use of ISSB standard to date. 36 jurisdictions has already on the journey on adoption or other use of ISSB standard, introduced into the regulatory requirements. So 20 of them have already finalized their decision, and 16 of them are still in the process. We can see 14 of them actually originating from Asia. What is even more encouraging is that we can see these jurisdictions are not only from the developed economies. So people talking about us like they are like, oh, that is too difficult. But we see a good amount of jurisdictions are from developing and emerging markets. We can see in Asia, for example, out of those 14 jurisdictions, a lot of them from ASEAN countries, and also we have countries from Africa. So that has proven that ISSB standards can be applied in different market readiness with different reporting, supports different reporting maturity. So why this happened? So when we established ISSB standards, we introduced, for example, proportionality mechanism. So for entities really to consider its own capabilities. And we also have transition reliefs, like for certain targeted requirements, like built in our standards. For example, scope 3, you don't need to report that in the first annual reporting year. And also further on that, in the jurisdictional guide that we introduced later on, that for regulators to consider your market readiness, that whether you wanted to extend those transition reliefs specifically for your jurisdiction based on your market readiness and the market characteristics. So that is something that the different jurisdictions can apply to their own characters. Other than that, we also understand we are a global baseline. Doesn't mean that we can cover everything. We understand that when we design even the stage of our standards. So we said we take a building block approach, means additional information can be included in the disclosure as long as it does not obscure the investor useful information, and that the investors can still make the decision based on the information you propose. So I think together with all of that, actually we create a landscape that, for example, support the reporting from large corporations in Hong Kong, as well as for example, entities in the emerging market with the same single standards. So that is very important for the comparability, reliability, and the capital flow to different capital market. Another point, the last point I actually wanted to mention is that we design in the principle-based basis. That means company entities apply for ISSB standards based on their own judgment. They need to use a judgment to consider what is the information that is specific, important to your investors, to your entity, and what is something that you really wanted to communicate that you think it would be useful for you to get resources from the investors. So that is something then apply to all the market as well, then you can see we do not set a threshold for the materiality assessment. We do not set a time frame for time horizon when you set what is the short-term, medium-term, and long-term when you consider your financial effects, right? So then that also applies to corporation like large entities and the small entities. So it's not a one-size-fits-all exercise, not a compliance ticking box exercise. It's an exercise of your mind and in your mind and how you wanted to your company to create like long-term value, right? During this like transitional period, you are not only thinking about surviving, you are thinking about where are the opportunity on all this like great transition. So I think that is like we provide this massive like space for entity to have their ownership or to explain yourself to the market. So I think that is why we can see already like this momentum, and it's proven as being international. Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny, and also to Dr. Lang earlier for clarifying this building block approach that offers flexibility, right, to all key stakeholders. And this is very important, and I'm glad that the Hong Kong government has bought into this international standard from ISSB. And on that note, I want to turn to Edward because the Hong Kong ICPA has been tasked by the Hong Kong government to implement ISSB to Hong Kong. And before I move on, I also want to thank you in a personal capacity for giving us this beautiful venue for the forum. Thank you. So yeah, please, Edward.
Thanks for having me and also HISTPA, Dr. Dao. So first of all, I mean, the HISTPA really pleased to issue the local sustainability reporting standards in December last year, and putting Hong Kong the first batch of jurisdictions in the world to have the local sustainability reporting standards fully aligned with the ISSB. So first of all, I mean, your question regarding ISSB. So if you are talking about whether this is a game changer for for corporate transparency, the ISSB standards truly fit the box, have all the requirements tick the box. I'm sure everyone has understand that, has heard of that. The ESG disclosures being an alphabet soup of framework that fits a lot of different purposes and also different uses over a decade. And the introduction of ISSB standards really, I mean, brought about a robust, a structure, and also a global baseline for sustainability reporting. And that principles actually is designed with an investor mindset, so that, I mean, that's especially relevant for Hong Kong, being an IFC, and also, I mean, where capital markets play a very key role in Hong Kong. And what makes ISSB standards transformative is the transparency they bring to life. For example, like IFRS for financial reporting, IFRS S1 and S2 actually aims to give investor better information for better decisions. And also in today's data-driven world, insight into the assumptions help investors understand how managements see risks and opportunities, and hold them accountable for all the judgment that they make, because they have to disclose the relevant assumptions. And also from an accounting point of view, a key strength of ISSB is about its connectivity. So too often, you know that, I mean, there's a disconnect between information disclosed or set by the company in the front part of the annual report, like the MD&As, and also with difference with what's disclosed in the financial statements. So the ISSB actually have to bridge the gap by requiring disclosures on all the key inputs, assumptions, and also about the expected financial impact on all those sustainability-related risks. And so that actually puts, I mean, the sustainability no longer a sinai, but actually incorporated, integrated within the financial performance and strategy. And ultimately, the ISSB standards raise the bar for accountability. They support management in better to identify and also preparing the sustainability-related issues, and also the structured approach to presentation also make the disclosures more auditable and credible. So in short, I mean, that builds, trust with the stakeholders and also moves sustainability from promise to performance.
Thank you, Edward. Again, for highlighting the importance of adopting the ISSB standard. But then there must be challenges as well as opportunities, right, in adopting these standards. So, Catherine, going back to Hong Kong EX, how are your listed companies on your exchange, adopting these standards, and also what are the concerns some of the issuers have, and how you're going to assist them on this journey?
I think at the stock exchange, it's whatever policy we bring about, we do think about implementation. So it's especially something like climate disclosure, which is very, very new to a lot of issuers around town. We've been very used to accommodate, we're very used to disclosing financial information, but this kind of a bit more qualitative, that involves more analysis and reliance on outside data is probably something that we are less familiar with. I think in the past, companies have been focused on their own financial, their profit, and even in terms of climate disclosure, they've always thought about things that how much they emit, how much paper, how much waste. I think the new thought, the new philosophy around climate disclosure has changed, because now you have to think about your supply chain, you have to think about what others' emissions might be in order to write your own report and how it's going to impact you in the future. So I think that is a significant mindset change. Even if we talk about climate change, in the past we were talking about emission, how much waste you're emitting and all that, but now things are a bit out of your control. If the temperature rises, what will happen to you? So I think that is something that listed companies have to get comfortable about, and it's something that they find most challenging because it's not within their control. And we know that some issuers have expressed kind of a lack of knowledge, technical expertise. How do they start? Like I said, that 2,600 companies. How am I going to find all these experts to report for our listed issuers? I think even Deloitte might not have enough expertise. So we at the stock exchange have put out implementation guidance, and I think proportionality is a key word, and practicality. So you're writing with an audience in mind. You're writing about your particular business. So if climate disclosure, if climate change is not that relevant to you, I think it's very acceptable that you disclose a bit less. So it really depends on your business. So I think that's lesson number one. I think in Hong Kong, I like to say that the listed issuers are very, very compliant. As soon as we put out rules, and you've had the experience of corporate governance, it's on a comply or explain basis, but man, our listed issuers, 97–95%, they comply. They won't explain because they feel that's the right thing to do. So I really commend them. But on the topic of climate disclosure, I would ask all the issuers to kind of think about what is relevant and not waste your company's resources if it's not relevant to you. So as well as guidance, we've put out a lot of transition period. We've started. First of all, I talked about phased approach, so that's something that we recognize certain issuers will have difficulty initially with putting out a full ISSB report. We've also done a lot of e-learnings, collaboration with UN Sustainability Stock Exchange and IFC in helping our issuers. Last December, we've put out kind of ESG in practice, and I think in our website, there are two groups of people which are very important to this climate disclosure journey. There's the directors who have fiduciary duty in governing the company, and obviously the level of details that they need is probably a bit less, but they need to be equipped with how do I look at climate disclosure and ESG issues in the company. So there's a set of guidance or e-learning that is targeted at this group, directors who need to learn about the subjects as directors and how do they discharge their fiduciary duty. And then we have a separate set of guidance that is more catered or more directed at people, preparers, what we call preparers of the climate disclosure. So I think there's ample of information and guidance on our website to get everyone started. But of course, for more complicated case, we do have a wealth and a big team of market practitioners in Hong Kong who are ready to help.
Thanks. I think you highlighted literally capacity building is really the key, right, for the industry. And thanks for providing all these support to all the listed companies. And now I want to go back to Beijing, because now in Shenzhen, I think you're facing similar challenges, right? So how are you going to support the companies in overcoming these hurdles, such as cost or even technological integration?
Thank you. I think just like Catherine just mentioned, there are some big players who have been pioneering in adopting the sustainable reporting. You don't need to allocate additional resources for them. But the important thing, or the more challenging thing, is how do you have the other companies on board? How do you help them to have the good transition, to have a very smoothly transition? So that's what we are doing. First, we think is very important, as Hong Kong Exchange is doing, is to have some flexibility in rule adoption. For example, we allow some listed companies to make some qualified explanation if the quantified indicators is difficult to make. And the second thing we think is important is the training and capacity building. So this is something I think lots of panelists have mentioned today. So we have just recently published a guideline on preparing for sustainable disclosure. So that contains lots of very practical information of how to make the calculation of a carbon emission or something like that. And also, we have just the Go Live website on our website dedicated for information capacity, sustainable capacity building. So you can see what your peers is doing. So what's their best practices, and also some training courses available on the website. So that's what we are doing to try to make the transition more smoothly.
Thank you. Yeah, and then Edward, similar question, capacity building. So what is Hong Kong ICPA doing on that front to help the industry?
Definitely, I mean, as mentioned earlier by Catherine, I mean, the stock exchange had all the relevant, I mean, guidance and also transition period to ensure that, I mean, the issuer can really adapt to the new standards. But definitely, I mean, building Hong Kong's capacity in sustainability reporting is not, I mean, really individual effort. It is really a city-wide effort. And starting, I mean, with the government's recognition of the importance of ESG professionals. So starting from 2021, the ESG talents has been included in Hong Kong talent list. And we are really pleased that in March this year, the accountants will also include Hong Kong talent list. And this reflects the Hong Kong government's commitment to both attracting light talents externally and also developing internal capabilities. And a key part of the effort is also on the green and sustainable finance, the cost agency steering group, which includes the stock exchange, financial regulators, government agencies. And the CESGA had also set up a working group that focused on uplifting ESG skills and competencies, and also to enhancing the ESG data and technology. And the HICPA play a very active member of this working group by working together to enhance ESG skills and also data infrastructure. So, and also our CPD, our Continuing Professional Development Program, also aligns with CESG work regarding to support the stakeholders transitioning to the new Hong Kong Sustainability Disclosure Standards, and also our capacity building program that actually spans both pre-qualification and post-qualification education. That means starting with the integration of sustainability into the CPA qualifying process. Effective next year, the study material of CPA exam will also include sustainability-related materials. And also, we have organized over 50 trainings in the past 2 years, and also are preparing for a sustainability certificates program later this year. That will help accountants to understand and implement the new IFRS S1 and S2 standards. In addition, we are also developing application guidance for the ISSB standards and hosting an online implementation platform for technical questions to ensure that the local stakeholders get all the support that they need. And also, HRSBA is a member of ISSB's partnership framework for capacity building. That will actually enable us to leverage to implementation various materials and also application guidance materials of the ISSB, and to implement the local ingredients so that the local stakeholders have all the local and international materials as well. And last but not least, the HRSBA also set up a sustainability community in June last year that actually foster collaboration and knowledge sharing among the professionals. And that will continue to expand this platform and to provide more CBT sections to a broader audience of both CPAs and non-CPAs.
Thank you. It's good to know that you're offering your resources to non-accountants as well. It's very important. Now, I want to go back to Valerie, because you are a key stakeholder representing asset owners and fund managers. Right? So how do you see your members leveraging these current sustainability reporting standards and supports? And most importantly, what are the challenges do you see that your members are facing in the decision-making process? Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So we do speak to asset owners and investors and asset managers very often as they are, within our membership. And as we sort of bring upon the discussion around ISSB disclosures, the key views that we hear amongst the membership certainly is that standards are great. It helps us create alignment. It helps level the playing field. And so from the investor perspective, definitely we're seeing large strides in leveraging current sustainability reporting standards. But we are also very cognizant of the fact how these standards do evolve over time, and challenges are bound to remain. So I think we have to be cognizant of the fact of where we are at the moment. A lot of implementation is starting to take shape. We see in our survey, 54% of our investors across Asia having started to publish climate disclosures in line with ISSB recommendations. However, noting us being in the very initial stages of this phase, quality, consistency, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And so in Hong Kong, we're seeing our investors definitely on par with Asian peers as well. And so the next step to look into perhaps would be definitely around alignment of data availability, data quality, topics that we very often talk about in forums like these. And we do understand that sometimes best practices are indeed easier said than done. And so whenever we identify good examples, it is important for us to reinforce those good examples, take those good practice and sort of amplify them over an overly penalizing approach. So just taking one of the much harder sort of indicators to look at, for example, amongst sort of a lot of our research, we do try to look into things like integrating executive remuneration into climate performance. Now, absolutely, this is a good practice. Is it easy as a practice? Definitely no. There is a lot of gaps, and we do see a lot of what's happening in practice in terms of disclosure. There's quite low disclosure around it. What that means is that from a governance perspective, there is a gap that needs to be addressed. And do we have steps to go in between to boost, climate governance performance amongst investors and the issuers that they are engaging with? Certainly, there are lots of steps that we can consider as well. So overall, I think it's to focus on better collaboration, enhancing of reporting practices, and to advocate for standardized disclosures, but also to address some of these pretty hard to address issues from within. So ultimately, we will always emphasize the importance of transparency in reporting, because a lot of times the better the transparency there is, the more helpful it is for investors to create consistent and actionable insights for their own decision making. And so I think the main thing is there are a lot of developments in flux. There are sort of evolution of reporting standards that we do sort of continue to expect in the broader spectrum. We do see that the opportunity for asset owners and asset managers is to be a bit more focused on engaging in collaborative efforts, share best practices so that they are able to, in a way, build a field around what's needed for the industry and to ultimately with an aim to advocate for standardized disclosure. So there's plenty of work that needs to be done.
Yeah. Thank you, Valerie, for highlighting some of these challenges, but also emphasizing the commitment, right, that the industry has in implementing the standard. So I know we overrun a little bit, but I want to ask Johnny this very important question. After listening all the other panelists about the challenges that they have shared with us, so from your perspective, how do you see these concerns echoed in other markets? And also, what advice would you give regulators and companies regarding data standardization and framework integration when working towards this ISSB compliance?
Thank you. Yes, I think it's very important to acknowledge the challenges. We actually see all the common challenges across the different regions, different markets. A lot of jurisdictions, they wanted to apply a high quality standard and high quality implementation in the market. However, they also worried about how then these requirements can meet the local needs, or whether their market is ready to apply like international aligned standards. So they wanted to remain the global competitiveness, also have to think about the different dynamics in their market and the capabilities. So that is quite often almost in all the market, no matter what kind of development or economic development or kind of like a geographical like a location. So also, of course, like the data, like we require scope 3, right? What about data availability and the cost of doing that, and the lack of talent in the market, no reference guidance, no illustrative examples, you know, available in the market at the moment. So a lot of questions people went straight into the technicalities, you know, on how should I do it? So that's why, importantly, we wanted to get the message out is that sometimes we need to take a step back. Firstly, to have a ISSB moment meditation, you know, to think about what are you doing here. It's about managing your long-term risks and opportunities, about creating your value to be able to survive in the different, like in the future world, right? So this is what we talk about, the sustainability. So in this context, we say that data availability, data standardization is important because we need to report, compared to ESG report in the past decades, that we need to report in a consolidated way, in a processed way, with the same measurement, you know, on GHG protocol, for example, in building our standard as a mandatory requirement. We need to get the verified data, for example, or to get the data from the different channels from your previous experience. Yes, that is important, but there's a big but here. Data standardization doesn't mean absolute accuracy, that you need to spend all your time looking into that specific data to explain what you've done last year, like what is your carbon emission last year. And what we're trying to do here is that in S2 is very clearly said that you can use your direct emission data, you can use indirect emission data. We heard from investors, actually, global investors, they are using estimated data. It's very useful because what they wanted to say is the trend, the transition risk on your value chain, for example. Where are they located? What is the trend going forward? And what should I be aware when I make an investment decision? So it's not about like absolute accuracy. So companies going to technicalities and lost in the technicalities. So that is one thing that we really wanted to get this message out. Another thing is comparability. Doesn't mean every jurisdiction have to disclose identical information. So if you look into our standard in IFRS S2, basis of conclusion, D20 maybe, talking about comparability. It's talking about disclose like things alike, but remain different things different. So disclose everything the same doesn't increase the market transparency. That increases the confusion to the investors. That damages the trust to investors as well. So, for example, our standard is designed requiring industry-specific information. We say you need to refer to, right? You need to consider and refer to ISSB standard, right? And so you look into your relevant, what topics like sustainability-related risks and opportunities are relevant to your industry, and then what are the material information under that risks and opportunities, right? And we are talking about entity-specific information using your judgment. Again, IFRS S1 as such important standard that help you guide your mindset to make that relevant decision. So that's something I think is really important when we think about that. And also what mentioned from a jurisdictional regulatory level, we see quite often there are two ways that to introduce ISSB standards. One is to refer to ISSB standards directly into your regulatory requirement framework. Another way is to incorporating ISSB standard into your local requirements. And quite often that means that you also, like for regulators, you also think about then how do you deliver that functionally aligned outcome as ISSB standards with your ISSB standards. So we published this roadmap development tool that been mentioned earlier that actually give out a specific like a matrix and in aspects that what is the red line basically that important when you design your requirements. So then that is something really useful for regulator to consider when you develop the requirement into incorporating that into your system. So we'll recommend the regulators to read that as well. Yeah, so that's for me.
Thank you so much. I think I certainly have learned a lot from our distinguished panelists. I think I want to conclude this panel by thanking all of them for their very insightful sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Au and our esteemed panelists for the enriching session. And now may I invite all of you to stand at the center stage and take a group photo together to commemorate this moment. Thank you very much. Let's stand closer at the front. Let's take one more. Thank you very much to all our distinguished moderator and panelists for this session. Please be seated. Thank you very much. I'm sure by our joint effort, we'll definitely have a smoother transition in adopting the sustainable finance in the future. And coming up next, we'll move on to our second keynote speech of today, Progress with Purpose, Advancing Sustainability in Hong Kong Green Finance Landscape, brought to us by our representative of our generous event sponsor, FISTRA. Please welcome Ms. Joyce Lau, FCG, HKFCG, Head of Financial Accounting and Tax and ESG, FISTRA, North Asia.
Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I think before all the qualifications, I should mention that I'm also a CESGA graduate, right? It is a privilege to be here on the Earth Day at the Earth Forum 2025, a gathering of leaders dedicated to advancing sustainability and shaping Hong Kong's role as a global green finance hub. Hong Kong stands as the beacon of ESG excellence in Asia, leveraging our position as the leading international financial center. As a key global green finance hub, Hong Kong is not only driving ESG standards across the region, but also facilitating collaborations between China and international markets. China and Hong Kong are at the forefront of adopting ISSB standards, as we have just learned from our keynote speaker, Dr. Bing Liang, and the first panelist. ESG principles encourage business to operate in ways to benefit society and the environment while achieving financial success. By aligning with stakeholders' expectations and attracting investments and customers, ESG helps companies navigate regulatory developments and enhance their reputations. These practices also fosters innovations and operational efficiency, ensuring resilience in a competitive and a complex market landscape as we are in today. Now is the time to reimagine our collective responsibilities. Individuals, CEOs, investors, and policymakers must work together to forge the sustainability progress through the deliberate choice and collaborative actions. At Vistra, our purpose is progress. We see progress not simply by a measure of growth, but as a journey towards creating lasting value for business, society, and environment. Sustainability, in many ways, is the ultimate benchmark for meaningful progress. We are proud to partner with the Friends of the Earth today, and also 50% of Hong Kong listed companies as their share registrar and company secretaries, and a great deal of global and Greater China-based companies on this journey, helping them to navigate complexity, adapt to changing standards, and seize the opportunities in this green new economy. Our support spans in 4 dimensions. We help our clients to navigate compliance and adhere to reporting standards like Hong Kong Stock Exchange new ESG code and also ISSB, enhancing governance and ensuring transparency. We also support our clients in their decarbonization strategies in measuring emissions, including Scope 3, and implementing actionable plans to reduce their carbon footprint in the journey. Furthermore, through tailored advisory services, we enable our clients to elevate their ESG performance and ratings aligned with their investors' expectations. Last but not the least, this is something Vistra is really good at, is from the training programs to our stakeholders, including directors. With all these stakeholders' engagement, it will equip businesses with the tools that they need to embed sustainability in their corporate governance. As we move forward, let us reimagine sustainability as a shared responsibility and an opportunity to create lasting impact. At Vistra, we are committed to being your navigator in this journey, removing friction, simplifying complexity, and turning ambitions into achievements. Together, we can cement Hong Kong's leadership as a green finance hub, foster global collaborations, and shape a sustainable future for the generations to come. Thank you and happy Earth Day.
And coming up next, our next keynote speaker comes from our venue sponsor, Deloitte. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Melissa Fong, Consulting Business, Southern Region Managing Partner at Deloitte China. And she will share her expertise with us in the topic of climate change, risk or opportunity. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, Dr. King Au, Mr. Plato Yip, Dr. Guo, and also Dr. Lang, and also all our honorable guests. Thank you for being here in our Deloitte office today, and hope you enjoy the natural sunlight from our glass ceiling at the atrium. One of the key topics today is about ISSB, which is relating to climate disclosure. So I would like to discuss about whether climate change itself, is it about risk or opportunities? Climate change is no longer a distant challenge, it's here, reshaping our environment, economies, and societies. But within this crisis lies a powerful opportunities to innovate, adapt, and build a more sustainable future. In the next few minutes, I will explore what climate risks mean, why they matter, and how they can be transformed into opportunities for businesses, communities, and also our planet. So let's start with climate risk first. As its core, climate risk refers to the potential negative impacts of climate change on organizations, economies, and societies. These risks fall into two main categories: physical risk and transition risk. Physical risks are the direct consequences of a warming planet. So think rising sea level, flooding coastal cities, extreme heat disrupting agriculture, or hurricanes damaging infrastructure. For example, in 2023, global economic losses from weather-related disasters exceeded about 200 billion. According to the World Meteorological Organization, transition risks, on the other hand, also stem from the shift to a low-carbon economy. These include policy changes like carbon tax, market shifts towards renewables, or legal liabilities for high-emission industries. So a coal plant, for instance, might become a stranded asset as regulations tighten and demand for fossil fuel drops. So why do these risks matter to us? Because they are not just environmental, they are financial, operational, and also societal. For businesses, a disrupted supply chain due to flooding can halt production, costing millions. For investors, companies unprepared for carbon regulations risk losing value. For communities, climate risks threaten livelihoods. Think farmers facing drought or coastal residents displaced by rising seas. Excuse me. Ignoring these risks isn't an option. A 2024 report by the Global Risk Institute found that companies failing to address climate risk face a 15% higher chance of financial distress. So climate risk is everyone's risk. But here's the flip side. Where there's risk, there's opportunity. Climate change is a catalyst for innovation, growth, and resilience. Let's explore three key areas where climate risk can be transformed into opportunities: innovation and markets, resilience and adaptation, and also leadership and trust. The transition to a low-carbon economy is opening massive new markets. Companies that innovate to meet climate challenges are having rewards. So take renewable energy. In 2024, global investment in solar wind surpassed 500 billion, creating jobs and driving economic growth. Businesses developing electric vehicles, energy-efficient technologies, or carbon capture systems are not just mitigating risk. They're capturing market share. For example, a food company facing drought risk might invest in climate-resilient crops, tapping into the growth demand for sustainable products. And climate risk push companies to rethink their models, sparkling innovation that creates value and drives progress. For resilience and adaptation, climate risk forces us to build resilience, and that's an opportunity to future-proof our systems. Businesses can adapt by redesigning supply chains to withstand extreme weather or investing in energy-efficient infrastructure to cut costs. For instance, a retailer might diversify its suppliers to avoid disruptions from floods, saving money and ensuring continuity. Communities, too, can seize this moment. Cities like Copenhagen are investing in green infrastructure, think rain gardens and permeable pavements to manage flooding while improving quality of life. So these adaptations don't just mitigate risk, they also create more robust, sustainable systems. Say, a 2023 study by the OECD showed that every dollar spent on climate adaptation saves up to $6 in future losses. Resilience is an investment, not a cost. And finally, it's about leadership and trust. Addressing climate risk builds trust and establishes leadership. Companies that proactively manage climate impacts by reducing emissions, disclosing risks, or investing in sustainability gain credibility with customers, investors, and regulators. Consumers are increasingly choosing brands with strong environmental records. A 2024 AC Nielsen survey found that around 73% of global consumers prefer sustainable products. Investors, too, are prioritizing climate-conscious companies, with $3 trillion in assets now tied to ESG funds. So by embracing climate opportunities, business position themselves as leaders in a world that values sustainability. This trust translates into loyalty, investment, and long-term success. And of course, seizing these opportunities isn't without challenges. Transitioning to new technologies require capital. Small businesses may struggle to collect data or implement changes, and global coordination is needed to ensure equitable progress. But the cost of inaction is far greater. Unmitigated climate risk could shave 10% off global GDP by 2050, according to the National Bureau of Economic Research. So the good news, what are the good news? Governments, businesses, and communities are already acting. Policies like the EU's Green Deal and also the corporate commitments to net zero by governments are creating frameworks for success. We just need to accelerate. So in conclusion, climate risk is a wake-up call, but it's also a doorway to opportunity. By embracing innovation, building resilience, and leading with purpose, we can turn the challenges of climate change into a blueprint for a better future. Businesses can thrive in new markets, communities can grow stronger and together, and we can create an economy that works for both people and the planet. So let's not shy away from the risk. Let's seize the opportunities. The time to act is now, and the rewards will shape generations to come. So thank you very much, and also happy Earth Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Feng, for your inspiring keynotes and for showcasing the power of resilience in transforming risk to opportunity. And now, please join me to welcome our next speaker on stage, Dr. Jesus Lopez Ceballos, President, the European Federation of Financial Analyst Societies, EFFAS. Please welcome.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my privilege to address the Earth Forum 2025 on the transformative theme Green Capital Global Connect. As Hong Kong positions itself at the nexus of sustainability and financial innovation, we stand at a pivotal moment of opportunity. At EFFAS, we recognize that behind every successful sustainable finance hub lies its most valuable assets, its human capital. The training professionals who can translate environmental imperatives into financial language, who can convert sustainability principles into investment decisions that drive both returns and positive impact. These individuals are the true architects of Hong Kong's emerging leadership in green finance. Since 2018, we have proudly introduced our 35 ESG Analysts CESGA program throughout Asia and Hong Kong, collaborating closely with visionary organizations like Friends of Earth to strengthen capacity in sustainable finance. Thanks so much to Heart of Friends. With Hong Kong now embracing the ISSB Standards as part of the government's forward-looking roadmap on sustainability disclosures, the marketplace is signaling an unprecedented demand for qualified professionals. Today's companies require analysts who can confidently navigate these sophisticated standards and transform sustainability metrics into decisions critical information. Standing at this pivotal moment in our collective journey towards sustainable finance, I'm delighted to announce the launch of our newest professional qualification, the EFFAS Certified Climate Risk Analyst Program. We have prepared a brief video to introduce this comprehensive certification and illustrate why climate risk expertise has become indispensable to financial markets and institutions worldwide. Please enjoy the video.
A better understanding of the implications of climate change and the low-carbon transition is extremely relevant for everyone, even outside finance. However, I would argue that a strong knowledge within the financial system is particularly important for two main reasons. First, there are several interconnected risks for financial institutions related to climate that require attention and management. And second, there are also at the same time several opportunities along the low-carbon transition which can be enjoyed only by businesses with a good understanding of the context. I would highlight three critical areas. First, it's really impossible to participate constructively to a discussion on the topic without at least a basic knowledge of climate change science and the technological dimensions of the low-carbon transition. Second, I would argue that a good knowledge of the regulatory environment, which is often complex and transforming, is a necessary prerequisite. And finally, it is important to have a robust understanding of the methodologies aimed at identifying and quantifying and managing climate-related risks and opportunities. All of these areas are covered in detail as part of the ACRA program. The ACRA program can help students and professionals in building a solid knowledge on the economic and financial implications of climate-related risks and opportunities. Whether you will specifically work on these topics or not, there is no doubt that this is a debate that will involve all financial institutions, as well as societies as a whole, in the coming decades. It's hence crucial to be aware of the debate and, why not, contribute to it with original ideas and strategies.
As you have just witnessed, this specialized certification addresses a critical market gap. Effective climate risk analysis demands a unique synthesis of traditional financial analysis with climate science, policy expertise, and scenario planning capabilities. This innovative program will seamlessly complement our established CESGA qualification, creating a comprehensive educational pathway for finance professionals across Hong Kong and beyond. Speaking on CESGA, I'm delighted to introduce our next session highlighting the CESGA Scholarship Program administered by Friends of Earth. This initiative has become instrumental in cultivating local talent and advising sustainable finance practices throughout Hong Kong. I'm pleased to confirm that this scholarship will continue into the coming year, further cementing Hong Kong's leadership in sustainable finance and empowering more professionals with the skills needed to drive meaningful change. I have the opportunity to say that after the last exam session, we are now more than 8,000 CESGA holders worldwide, and we have done exams in more than 100 countries. I remain convinced that by marrying rigorous financial analysis with principled environmental stewardship, we can transform markets to serve both prosperity and planetary well-being. Thank you all for your dedication to building a more sustainable finance future for Hong Kong and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ceballos, for insightful sharing. Please remain on stage for the next session. We'll now move on to the ceremony of the award ceremony. And this is the Certified ESG Analyst CESGA Scholarship Award Ceremony. Since 2018, Friends of the Earth Hong Kong has the greatest honor to work with EFFAS to bring CESGA to Hong Kong as the first globally recognized ESG professional accreditation. And now we have over 1,700 CESGA holders here in Hong Kong. And this is also resonated FOE core pillar to promote the sustainable development and talent incubation in Hong Kong. Now, may I invite Ms. Serena Mack, Board Governor and Honorary Secretary at Friends of the Earth Hong Kong, to join Dr. Ceballos on stage and present the award. The first award we are going to present is Town Gas CESGA Scholarship. And this year, the Town Gas CESGA Scholarship is awarded to Mr. Cody Wong Kwan Law. Congratulations. Please come to the stage. Ms. Mack and Dr. Ceballos is going to present the certificate to Mr. Wong. Let's take a group photo together. Congratulations. Mr. Wong, please stay on the side and wait for the next group photo, please. Dr. Ceballos and Ms. Mack, please remain on stage. And for the next award is the Friends of the Earth Hong Kong CESGA Scholarship. And this year, the Friends of the Earth Hong Kong CESGA Scholarship is awarded to Mr. Kelvin Choi Ka-hei. Congratulations. Let's hold the certificate and look at the camera for a big smile. Now, shall we have a joint photo together with all the awardees this year? Once again, congratulations to all the CESGA winner. Thank you, Dr. Ceballos, and thank you, Ms. Mack, and congratulations to all the awardees. Please be seated. Coming up, we will go for our second panel discussion. Today, the second panel discussion topic is the role of capacity building in advancing sustainable finance markets. This session we will examine on how regulatory frameworks, professional training, and international best practice can equip the finance professionals to meet the evolving demands of sustainability finance. Now, please join me in welcoming our moderator of this panel. In this panel, we'll have Professor Anthony Cheung, Vice Chairperson, Friends of the Earth Hong Kong, and Greenhouse Gas Protocol Independent Standard Board Member. Please welcome Professor Cheung. And joining Professor Cheung on stage, we have Dr. Valeria Fauner, Director of Training and Certification, the European Federation of Financial Analyst Societies, EFFAS. Welcome. Mr. Luke Liang, Senior Manager, Policy and Legislation Division at the Insurance Authority. Ms. Eileen Ng, Associate Director, International Affairs and Sustainable Finance at the Securities and Futures Commission. Mr. Ronald Young, Head, Banking Policy, Sustainable Banking Development, Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And last but not least, Mr. Sam Yu, Chairman of the Hong Kong Investment Funds Association. Welcome, everyone. The stage is over to you now, Professor Cheung.
Thank you. Fellow panelists, please grab a seat. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a very distinguished panel from regulators, standard setters, professional bodies, and also practitioners to share about what are the much needed skills that's needed to create the sustainable finance hub for globally, and we are very excited. And we have got additional guests over that side. Feel free to join us to the central panel. I think we have the fellow panelists from key institutions at the forefront of sustainable finance space. And to drive Hong Kong and Asia for a big part of the sustainable development. So I think without further ado, let me just start with Ronald. Last October, I know that the central bank, our central bank, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKMA, has launched a sustainable finance action agenda, setting up vision to drive Hong Kong to support sustainable development of Asia and beyond. I know that Ronald and Elaine, you both have industry experience in sustainable finance and ESG rating and research before joining the public sector. I think it would be very exciting to learn about from your point of view on what capabilities do you see as most critical for banks, Ronald, in terms of to develop effectively, how to capitalize on the opportunities, and how does HKMA supporting the developments of these capabilities? Over to you, Ronald.
Sure, no problem. Happy to speak about those. So I think first of all, like at HKMA, we do recognize the importance of capacity building. So whenever we roll out any sustainable banking policy, we will follow that by capacity building campaign. So to enable basically the market and market participants will be able to actually adapt to the policy and actually operate within the policy. So the way we see capacity building is like there are 3 levels. So first is an individual level. So it's about like people's skills in sustainable finance, for example, in analyzing companies and structuring transactions. And second level is institutional level, which would mean enhancing institutional capacity of the banks and investors. And the third level is market level. So that would mean further building markets capacity so the market can hold companies and transactions to high standards. So let me give you some examples on how our current policy initiatives will support the 3 levels of capacity building, and with the ultimate objective for people, institutions, and market to fulfill the goals set out under the agenda. So let me start with institution. So taking transition planning as an example. So to support banks to fulfill goal number 1 in the agenda, which is for banks to strive for net zero emissions by 2050, we are working on a transition planning guidance to enhance banking sector's resilience to transition-related risks and the management of those. So the guidance set out our expectations for key components that should be included in the bank transition planning process, such as setting proper strategy and governance, embedding risk management culture, use of metrics and targets, client engagement, etc. And these would lead to enhanced capacity by banks to manage transition-related risks through building up their internal capabilities to achieve the above-mentioned aspects. And let me turn to the people now. And institutions consist of people. And people's capacity is key for the success of any bank's management of transition risks and opportunities. So as Anthony mentioned, I was in the industry before, so I understand that ultimately it is the people who would engage with the bank's clients and make decisions on transactions. So considering this, HKMA launched the core level of the Enhanced Competency Framework for Green and Sustainable Finance for authorized institutions back in July 2023. And then we have expanded the scheme to cover the more advanced professional level in November 2024. So the program covers a variety of aspects within sustainable finance. For example, it includes sustainable finance products and servicing, sustainability climate risk management, sustainability disclosures and reporting, and sustainability strategy, compliance, and control. So far, the uptake has been quite positive, and we have close to 2,000 industry professionals having obtained the certifications. So in addition to building capacity locally, because Hong Kong is an international financial center for the region, serving the region capital flows, we are exporting our capability and helping banks in the region to build capacity. So for example, through the Alliance for Green Commercial Banks, a joint initiative between HKMA and IFC, we have organized seminars for sustainable finance professionals in the region to learn about the best practice as our best practice as an international sustainable finance hub. So lastly, let me talk about how we are working to build up market capacity. So to promote innovation of green fintech, we are organizing a green fintech competition and symposium for pioneering green fintech platforms. This would enhance the local ecosystem for sustainable finance and fintech, giving the participants, the potential investors, and users a chance to interact and exchange ideas. And more importantly, this will help build awareness of the latest technology solutions out there and giving potential users a chance to apply these technologies in their business to improve their efficiency or to actually increase their sustainable finance participation, and as well as offering opportunities for promoters to scale up their technology solutions to make it more commercial. So I'll stop here, and then maybe I'll pass it back to Anthony and listen to the other speakers on what they say.
Thanks, Ronald. I think there's a lot of projects that keep your team and also other teams at HKM very, very busy. But thanks for all this great work. Elaine, over to you. I think it's echoed earlier by Dr. Lang Bing from ISSB, right? The Hong Kong SAR government has issued a roadmap for the adoption of ISSB standard in Hong Kong. What would be the financial regulator, the SFC role in this roadmap? And if I want to take this to the next level, what would be the key challenges in implementing this roadmap? And would capacity building would be able to help address these challenges?
Thank you very much, Anthony, and thank you for having me here. I have this challenging job of talking about the ISSB standards again, particularly going after Dr. Lang Bing, so that's going to be a bit tough. But let me try and add a little bit more value here, right, on top of what everybody has already said about the ISSB. So the securities regulator, as the securities regulator, we look after the capital markets here in Hong Kong, and obviously, conduct of companies and intermediaries, right? So when the securities regulators and the group of securities regulators at the international level 2-3 years ago decided to support the IFRS Foundation in the setting up of the ISSB and to produce the ISSB standards as we know of them now, that was a remarkable actually effort of consolidating and getting agreement from securities regulators around the world that this was important. And I want to also emphasize the importance of this is so that investors can get the information that they need to be able to make the right investments according to reliable and comparable information that companies can put out there. And we all know that for climate mitigation, a lot of the efforts that need to go with emissions reduction actually need to happen at the real economy level. So businesses have to change. Businesses have to change the way they conduct their operations, they produce goods, the type of goods that they produce, and also navigate a lot of the shifting policies that come because of climate-related risks. All right. So the opposite side of risk is obviously opportunities, and we want investors to be able to put money into these opportunities to encourage more of these businesses to evolve at the real economy level, right? So all of this boils down to what businesses are supposed to do. So getting information that is useful for investors is super important, which goes to what the previous speakers have already mentioned. What is material or relevant, right, to the growth of your business, the evolution of your business, how you are creating value, what sort of products you're going to be putting out, and how is it going to be valuable in this world and this economy going forward into the future. So all of that needs to come out. And it's not going to be an easy task to just put out because you're looking into the future, you're reacting to changes in the economy, shifting consumer preferences and all of that. So to cut the story short, I think the challenges that we are seeing in terms of disclosure and putting out reliable, consistent, and useful disclosure is really being able to put a a sustainability lens on all of the things that a business is doing, right? So mainstreaming sustainability considerations, climate considerations into every part of your business, that's super important. And it goes to the point that, Edward was mentioning from ICPA that CPAs are going to have to start looking at climate-related risks in part of the curriculum, right? Doctor just mentioned that in the EFFAS new program, a lot of that financial risks and opportunities need to be considered to be part of a skills in the program that they are putting out. So all of this is about mainstreaming and ensuring that information is consistent with financial statements, with what your investors want, with what your stakeholders want as well. Let me just also mention one very technical difficulty in putting out sustainability disclosures is obviously in Hong Kong, a lot of our firms are international, which means that their supply chains are international, which means that they have to aggregate this information. They need it to be reliable and consistent so that they can put all of this together and be useful to investors, right? So technology, I think, plays a huge role in this. Ronald mentioned that HKMA is doing work on fintech development. The FSTB is also mentioned, Joseph mentioned earlier about the proof of concept for fintech. That's also another initiative that we are hoping will galvanize, and crowd in more technology solutions to be able to support all of this. So from the ecosystem building perspective, we have been doing a lot to support the Hong Kong government and other financial regulators in building out this ecosystem.
Thanks, Elaine. I couldn't agree more. As my firm's one of the 4 engagement priorities is actually a sustainable supply chain, and China and Asia actually have the longest supply chain in the world, which makes the work more than a little bit more complicated. So if I move on to Dr. Valeria. Well, thank you for flying all the way from Frankfurt to Hong Kong to be part of the Earth Forum and also co-host the Earth Forum with us today. Yet, I still got a tricky questions for you. So building on, we've just listened from the banking regulator, HKMA, and also the securities regulator, SFC, regarding regulatory oversight and data capabilities. I think there are a lot of challenges. So how would EFFAS, in Europe, address these concerns in the industry? Would there be any solutions that EFFAS will be able to provide to enhance either both technical data skills or verifications capabilities needed to combat greenwashing and other issues that raised by the regulators?
Thank you, Anthony. Well, the concerns raised by our colleagues from HKMA and SFC are understood by EFFAS as the challenge, the dual challenge of building deep technical skills and ensuring market integrity through credible verification standards. And this sits at the heart of EFFA's mission. Our CESGA and, as you saw, our new ECRA are designed to do exactly that. Strengthen practical data capabilities, promoting regulatory alignment, and equipping professionals to critically assess sustainability claims and prevent greenwashing. So let me explain how we bring this vision to life. Our certifications are grounded in the principle that technical knowledge must go hand in hand with practical application. EFFAS programs deliver professionals with practical tools, and this sets us apart. Our programs are designed by practitioners, for practitioners, following the highest academic standards, and this is the way how EFFAS delivers top-notch knowledge to the market. Let us put as example the ECRA now, that we just heard a little bit about it. The ECRA is delivered in collaboration with Marsh McLennan, the global experts for risk and strategy. So with the ECRA, we start grounding participants in the science of climate change and its impact, because meaningful climate risk management starts with understanding the data. Module 2 is about the regulatory environment, same as the CESGA. Also, Module 2 is regulatory environment. And here we discuss the global climate regulations and how these affect investment institutions, financial institutions. Then we enter really into matter and discuss climate risk identification and modeling. We also cover assessment of vulnerability and exposure of assets in this module. And in Module 4, we go deeper and provide skills for quantifying financial impact of climate risk in portfolio and business performance. Our Module 5 is about climate opportunities because it's important in this context to identify them, and we train our participants to identify them. Then our Module 6 is about net zero and adaptation plans. Module 7 is about the climate change assessment for financial institutions. So, and here we go from the macro to the micro level, and we provide necessary skills so that participants can integrate climate concerns into business policies and strategies. So here we include stress testing exercises as well. So Module 8 is completely dedicated to green finance. It's important that participants understand how sustainable finance markets are developing. And we close with a Module 9 on climate risk for asset classes. And we put a lot of focus in making them understand how climate risk affects portfolio valuation. Here we ensure, again, as in the CESGA framework, to provide participants with insight into tools. And we do this through a case study approach. So this is as a very clear example of how EFFAS is constructing its programs around practical application. But it's not only about that. For EFFAS, we believe that transparency and verification are non-negotiable elements of the sustainable finance, and our programs are designed to transmit this message. We're proud to actively contribute to the development of the sustainability reporting standards through our participation at EFRAG, and this engagement helps us to ensure our programs are maintained at the forefront of the regulatory interoperability and preparing professionals for both current and also emerging frameworks. Let it be CSRD, ISSB. Second, we train professionals to contribute meaningfully to data verification process across the well-established three-line of defense model. For EFFAS, knowledge means also responsibility. This is a very important message. So, and through our comprehensive content, we prepare our participants to identify red flags, to evaluate and question ESG data sources, and assess also the robustness of disclosure practices. So this puts our holders in a very good position to actively support and avoid greenwashing and strengthen the investor confidence. So just a last sentence, I would say, at EFFAS, we help our professionals to translate complexity into action.
Thanks a lot, Valeria. Sam, I know you serve as the chairman of the HAIFA, and in your daily job, you're also heading up compliance and legal at the global asset managers. I mean, we both work on the buy side. I'm sure that you work with a lot of investment teams, portfolio managers on a day-to-day basis, and yes, it's a big, issue, if not headache for you. So if I may learn from you, either in your capacity on your daily job or in your capacity serving the Investment Fund Association, what do you think asset managers, are facing these days in sustainable investment, and how would be able, skills or knowledge would be able to strengthen the best practices of driving sustainable investment in this world, in this region?
Thank you, Anthony. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm so pleased to hear from the other specialists, SME, talking about the ESG. First of all, there are two main objectives, okay, from using the ESG factors in the investment strategy. First is for the product classification or regulatory requirements. This is essentially using the ESG characteristics to classify issuer or portfolio as sustainable or meeting a specific non-financial objective. And the second objective is fundamental insights. Using financially material ESG factors to better evaluate an issuer's risk and opportunities with the sole objective of generating alpha. Both of the above use cases require specialist knowledge, and importantly, there are a wide range of approaches to both outcomes that needs to take into account asset class specific considerations as well as geographic sector issues. For example, to understand the physical impact of climate change on a company or the potential risk to earnings from sanctions or fines due to poor labor practices, context-specific and specialized information and expertise is required. So this calls for not only leveling up of general insight, such as knowledge of different sustainable investment strategies, but also of how financial materiality can differ in different sectors and countries or jurisdictions. In general, I see there are three levels of insight, just like Ronald has three levels on that as well. And these also in line with the approach that CASI are doing for their capacity building. First is the overview. This provides an introduction to the topics and a general set of familiarization. For example, what is climate change? What is driving it? What are solutions and impacts? Then the second insight is implementation. This provides more specific insights into the topics and start to get to the sector-specific impacts. For example, a deep dive into physical risk exposure, transition planning, and policy risks. The third level is the case studies. This provides detailed real-world examples to highlight in the above two steps in action and helps bring to life the impacts. For example, a case study of actual climate risk being identified and mitigated at the portfolio level, or of a company establishing a specific transition plan, or of transition risk being realized through disruptive competitive as a result of policies to drive decarbonization. There has been a lot of work done in the capacity building, but it needs to have a deeper availability of materials and context on the phase 2 and 3 above. Investor and also client education is a separate body of work, which requires more of the level 1 insights mentioned above. There's still a lot of misinformation about what ESG is and isn't. There needs to be a better understanding of when it is used for financial versus non-financial objectives. And then the next phase of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Luke, the IA, the insurance authority, right, is alongside with SFC and HAMA, play a very key role in the cross-agency steering group. And we know that the complexity of the insurance business, and it also serves, many of them serve as a role as asset owners. So can we learn from you, specific, climate risk management and challenges for the insurance business, and any of the customized training will be able to bridge the gap?
Thanks, Anthony. I'm sure the audience knows that, but please allow me to reiterate that the insurance industry plays a very critical role in climate risk management because insurers, they are the risk assessors, they are the underwriters, they are the advisors, they are also the investors. So specifically, they are the investors of green bonds and the issuers of ILS, insurance-linked securities. So last year, the IA published the results of Climate Risk Management Survey. It sheds light on the overall climate readiness of the industry and some of the challenges that the industry is facing, specifically on strategy, governance, and risk management. And on strategy, we observe that the industry is more advanced in investment and operational planning. However, the industry is struggling with financial planning, underwriting, product development, and strategic targets. So we can see that the insurance industry is actually facing challenges in quantifying the financial impacts of climate change. And obviously, capacity building is the key to empowering the industry in establishing the right strategy. And this is highly relevant to governance. So on second part, governance, we also noted that some of the insurance did not have a very comprehensive governance structure for the oversight of climate risk. So this is really important for us, and it is less developed at board level as well, because some of the insurers did not define roles and responsibilities, and they did not provide capacity building support to the board. And so in general, they face challenges in setting the metrics and targets and are not so ready for public disclosure as part of the governance. I think targeted professional development is important for all levels in an organization, but I would say it's particularly critical for the board and senior management because they are the ones to determine the strategy, to prioritize resources, to set the risk appetite, basically mobilizing the entire climate risk management. So on the third part, risk management, we also observe that it's quite prevalent that among the insurers, the risk appetite has not been formulated. So relatedly on risk exposures, there might not be adequate climate risk identification, measurement, monitoring, mitigation, and reporting. So on risk measurement, we also observe that there's a gap in adopting climate risk modeling. So I want to talk some more about that. On climate risk modeling is very vital for the insurance industry's climate risk assessment, but they do face some challenges due to data and modeling limitations. First, there's a lack of robust and forward-looking data. So the insurance industry often struggle to obtain sufficient forward-looking and high-quality data to model their climate risks. Because, you know, traditional climate risk models rely on historical data to predict events. But, you know, due to the unpredictability of climate events, the existing climate models may not fully capture the increasing frequency and severity of extreme weather events or tipping points, leading to less accurate estimation of potential losses. So to build the capacity, the IA has been working on various initiatives to address the data need and modeling limitations. So maybe some of you are aware that the government has launched CSDI, Common Spatial Data Infrastructure, CSDI, and we often hear from the industry that they have a knowledge gap in data. And actually, CSDI is a very good platform for integration and exchange of geospatial information. So the IA has been partnering with the government to promote the utilization of this publicly available data to facilitate insurance industry's climate risk assessments. And second, on climate modeling, the limitations, we have been fostering industry collaboration with local academia to conduct a climate risk modeling project. So the project basically aims to identify the weather thresholds linked to claims data and loss implications under climate change So by leveraging the expertise of academia, we believe that we could bridge the gap between science and modeling. And all these efforts are designed to strengthen the industry's risk assessment capabilities through forward-looking analytics to stimulate their product innovation and also to refine their underwriting practices. So in summary, I think to effectively assess and manage climate risk, I think the industry must navigate challenges related to strategic adaptation, data and modeling limitations, and to build the capacity, it does not only require professional development to narrow the skill gaps, but also demand enhanced governance and industry collaboration.
Thanks, Luke. I mean, your sharing just echoed perfectly with the sharing that EFFAS delegations made this morning at HKU, the ESG Research Institute discussions on climate risk, and we're talking about how often, one of those extreme weather events that suppose happens once every 100 years, that happening every year these days.
Anthony,
please, Elaine.
I want to add a point here, and I think it's particularly worrying when insurers say they have difficulties modeling climate risk. It's kind of like their business, right? not putting the insurance industry in the spot, but I think this is exactly the situation that we are in, right? That the experience of your historical experience is not going to be able to adequately prepare you for the changes that are coming. And when companies are looking at their physical risk exposures, I think they need to start doing it and considering, which areas they will be affected, rather than, hoping to go all the way with a very accurate description and quantification of exactly what those risks are. Because if the insurance can't do it, I think it's very difficult to expect a lot of the companies to do it. And the last thing I wanted to raise here is that I think a lot of people and companies think that the insurers will pick up the bill. And I think that we need to be prepared that, at some point, not saying that the insurers are not going to pay the bill, but a lot of it is going to depend on ourselves to prepare for some of these worst case scenarios adequately, so that either your premiums come down, or in a whole, we can improve our adaptability for climate change.
So maybe I'll add one point, so further to what Elaine and Luke said. So basically, what we are seeing in the market is like there's a driver for a strong focus on adaptation. So basically, a lot of the companies and financial institutions, they are increasingly focused on adaptation, integrating adaptation considerations in the transition planning process. So that's very important because it will help build resilience for companies, and then it will also basically help understand, actually, further to what Luke said is like help understand how insurance can help to mitigate the risks. Yeah, because a lot of times, like if physical risk can be mitigated by insurance, so people are looking at the time lag in terms of like the timing between they incur the costs and then like they get the repayment, but then like they get the insurance payout. But then let's say like if insurance is not adequate, then there's a bigger problem.
Perfect. I'm getting a little bit thirsty, and I overheard that there are drinks after the post-Earth Forum. So why don't we make it quick? And I just have the final questions opening to all panelists. I'm giving you two choices, so you could either share what would be the most important or exciting initiative in terms of capacity building could be prioritized to advance sustainable finance in the next 1 or 2 years, or I want to talk about KPIs. So we love metrics, and is there any metrics in your mind that it would be a good idea to use to measure the effectiveness of sustainable finance, capacity building for us, Shall I start from the the far end, Sam, would you like to start? Which one would you pick?
Okay, perhaps I talk about the most the most important capacity building initiative we need to prioritize. I would say that I mentioned about 3 levels. Besides the first one, second is implementation and case studies. So I think it's moving to level 2, level 3, those 2 areas, implementation and case studies both, as well as the general retail investor education. Okay, on the differences between using ESG for fundamental value creation versus value alignment. Because I think among the retail segment, people still may not understand too well, even like what Joseph said at his speech. There are quite a number of ESG funds in the market right now, but from the asset management perspective, we do see a slowdown for the investor to subscribe into ESG products. Maybe, one of the reasons is due to the awareness, the knowledge, and understanding what ESG means for them or means for the investments. So we need to focus more on that. In addition, then the biggest step is to move away from the binary thinking about what ESG is and isn't, and focus on where it is used for value versus values. So that's very important for people to understand, having a comprehensive picture what ESG means to them for their next generations. Thank you.
Yeah, so the question is about metrics and targets for capacity building, right? So, what I've seen in the market is like some banks, they have used like number of hours of training or like basically a number of certifications for their staff body. So I think these are good indicators, but then like I think one has to be very clear in that like in education, input doesn't equal output. So we not only have to focus on the input, but we need to focus on like the real skills that people actually acquire during the process and how they apply on their job or other exercises.
Okay, so Ronald mentioned metrics, so I wouldn't. I think that a game changer would really be technology, especially AI. Think of it as your AI assistant, an additional all-knowing person on your team that you can leverage 24 hours, and they will never complain. I think AI is going to be super useful for all of the issues that we have talked about, right? How it's a multidimensional problem, how do you take the different perspective when you're doing disclosures, which are the areas that affect you the most. I think a lot of it requires that collection of multiple perspectives, the ability to process a huge amount of different information and research, use AI to help you and then improve on that.
First of all, I would like to thank Ronald and Yiling. Adding remarks on the insurance industry, I feel flattered. 2 other regulators is focusing on insurance as well. And I would like to address the capacity building initiative. So I think it really naturally comes to our mind that when we talk about capacity building, you must think of disclosure, climate risk modeling for insurance industry. But I would like to reiterate the imperative of capacity building in strategy and governance, because they are just foundational to advancing sustainable finance. So I think the key is to embed sustainability deeply into the insurance governance framework and the strategic decision-making process. And actually, these are interrelated closely with what we mentioned, disclosure or climate risk modeling. And by prioritizing capacity building in strategy and governance, I think the insurance industry could position themselves as one of the leaders in the transition to a resilient low-carbon economy. And this also ensures sustainability is not an add-on, but a core part of the entire industry's purpose, culture, and long-term value creation.
I will go also for a capacity building initiative. And, well, I would say that the best initiative would be to embed sustainability literacy into the mainstream financial education. not only as a niche, but as a core competency. For example, we did it in 2019, very early, integrating ESG as a topic of our CEFA, our Certified ESG Analyst, and I think such initiatives should be important to empower professionals across roles with tools to understand sustainability risk, interpret evolving disclosures, and make informed decisions. So this means scalable certification supported by regulators, by industry, and interoperable training programs that reflect global standards. So I think capacity building will be truly effective when sustainability becomes embedded across investment thinking.
Thank you. Today we've got hundreds of participants online, joining us virtually across Asian markets and also from Europe. And we thank you for that. And together with everyone here, in the physical venue, I would like you to join me to thank my distinguished panelists for the sharing.
Thank you, Professor Chen, and now esteemed panelists for the insightful sharing. Let's take a group photo together to commemorate this moment. Let's stand closer together. As we can see, Hong Kong's financial markets definitely have the greatest potential to advance the green and sustainable investment by using the right strategies. Thank you to our moderator and all panelists. Please be seated. Thank you so much. Once again, please give them a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are approaching the end of today's program, I think it's time to reflect on the incredible ideas and conversations that we shared. To deliver the closing remarks, please join me to welcome Dr. Pei Yuan Guo, Chairman, China Sustainable Investment Forum and China representative of the United Nations Environment Programme Finance Initiative. Thank you. Please welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Well, good late afternoon, right? My name is Pei Yuan. I'm the founder and chairman of Sintao Green Finance and also China CIF, and I'm also the China representative for UNEP Financial Initiative. I'm based in Beijing. So China CIF, China Sustainable Investment Forum, it's an NGO non-for-profit platform to support ESG and sustainable finance in the region. And Sintao Green Finance, founded in 2015, is a data provider. We provide ESG data covering all Chinese Asia and Hong Kong share as well. It's our great honor to partner with Hong Kong Friends of the Earth and Hong Kong FSDC again on this Earth Forum, starting from last year. And I still remember the topic for last year was transition finance. And you know the topic for this year, it's on the top, right? Look up and you saw the topic, you can see the topic on the top, and it's Green Capital Global Connect, shaping Hong Kong as a sustainable finance hub, with a special focus on ISSB adoption. And I think these topics are, the topic this year and the topic last year are closely connected to each other because it addresses one of the most important challenges we face today, which is climate risk and climate change issues. I think this is really important discussion, particularly for today's world. So I think I want to say thank you to all the guest speakers and panelists because they provide very wonderful discussion and insights. I sit down and listen and learn a lot, and I have some takeaways from my personal point of view. I think number one, climate disclosure is a must, and it is or it will be a compliance requirement for many entities. It is already a requirement clearly to all the listed companies, and I think it will be requirement for some other entity as we laid out in the roadmap for Hong Kong market. And I think there are also many other markets are adopting a similar approach in the region and globally. So I think this is not a question about why, but a question about how we need to do that. And I hope if there are any company and financial institution or what we call the public interest entity, we need to get ready to that, to do so. So I think that's the number one takeaway. Number two is, to do this, we need capacity building. I think the discussion just now already mentioned several things on capacity building. We need training. We also need data platform. We need more public data to support analysis like climate scenario analysis, financial risk impact analysis, etc. I think with that, the company, the listed company and the financial institution will find it more easy to fulfill this disclosure compliance and to analyze the risk of their operation. Finally, the third point is, at the end of the day, it is about strategy and management. It is not just a paper, and it's not just a report. So we need to think about that, going beyond the report. I think the first time I entered this area was around 20 years ago, and 17 years ago we started to work on disclosure, ESG disclosure. At the time we called CSR disclosure, corporate social responsibility reports, etc. And we emphasize that it is a management approach. It is not just a report. So report is not a report. Report is part of your PDCA process. It's the checking points that you analyze your performance. Yeah. So number one thing is that you need to have a strategy, you need to have the process, and you deliver through your management approach, and you have the results, and you report your results. So I think during the discussion, we also mentioned this. For example, I remember Larry from AIGCC said that governance is quite important. We need to think about how we can integrate these climate issues and KPI into the management bonus. And I think that's part of the management perspective. So I think at the end, it's not just about report, it's about management, it's about strategy. For the investor, it's also about risk management as well. So I think there are a lot of things on this topic, and it will be a long journey. It will be a long journey for a few years, for a few decades as well. Many people talk about the so-called ESG backlash and for example, the Olympic package in European market. So I think that reminds us that we cannot make a very ambitious target. We need to be realistic. We need to start from small step. We need to think about it in the long term. If we can do a small step every day, every month, every year, then in the long run we will make it. Other than we make a very ambitious target slogan, and at the end we say, no, we cannot do that. So I think that's also something that we need to keep in mind, to be realistic and to be practical. So finally, I want to say thank you to all the speakers and also to all the participants, particularly who are still in the room today now. So thanks for joining with us for the whole afternoon, and I hope you can also have some takeaways for your work on ESG, on sustainable finance in your company or in your business. And I hope to see you again next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guo, for bringing our forum to a meaningful conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of today's program, but our conversation doesn't end here. We would like to extend a warm invitation to all the CESGA alumni to join us for a post-event networking session taking place at the Emma's Pizzeria and Cafe Pacific Place, starting from 6 to 8 p.m. Everyone is welcome to join. not just the CESGA alumni. And please note that the drinks will be on cash bar basis. Alternatively, you're also very welcome to continue your conversation in here. Once again, thank you very much for joining us here today and making the Earth Forum 2025 a big success. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and happy Earth Day. See you all next year.